Ryan White, I am feeling so lonely. I'm just lonely, 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 lonely. I'm like the only person in the Tesla community that thinks that Optimus is going to create revenue from purchases or rentals in 2024. Everybody else is like, no, it's not going to happen, Randy. Come on, it's going to be 2025 or 2026. And so I thought, maybe, I don't know. I don't know that I've actually seen your opinion yet. I thought maybe there's a chance I'd have one person that wants to get into the same position as me. Folks, it's Brian White, and he has a position.
So, Connecting the Dots put out a great piece today where he's saying that he believes they'll be working in Tesla factories by the end of 24. So, a complaint that I saw about Optimus on X was that people keep saying, why do people keep saying it can fold laundry, it can do dishes, it can take out the trash? Don't they have any imagination? And what I said is, that's the world they know. Your first thought was a factory. Yeah. And my first thought was it could panhandle for me. No. Got to do what you know. So the thing with disruptive technology is a lot of times it doesn't get much coverage because people don't understand it. They don't understand, how does this impact me and my life? The internet was that way. When the internet became a thing, people would say, right, but what's it for? And the answer is everything. Yeah, it's right. Everything. And at the time, it wasn't everything. And a lot of what it was hard to find because search engines in their current form didn't really exist yet. They were terrible.
But to your point, I was ready the minute that the internet happened. My partner and I in business were ready to create a website. We had a website up and running within the first 3 months that there was a public internet because it mattered to our business to have a presence in that new media.
You got it. But that's because you had a unique application where it made sense, where it jumped out at you, and you couldn't ignore it. So with disruptive technologies like the iPad, when it came out, I said, right, but what's it for? So it's a laptop, but worse? No, it's other things. And like smartwatches, so it's your phone, right? It's just your phone. Well, it can tell you the time. Yeah, so can my phone. Well, it can remind you of, yeah, like a phone. It can do all the... So you have to understand what it can do, and it has to get a little better first. It has to, they had to add the, blood pressure or the, right. The different health metrics.
Right.
That was a good addition. Now they're actually useful. People understand them, but this everyone can understand. Now, I did have one of my fans. I want to say fans. He's a regular. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. Give me pushback and say, do you honestly think the pace of work in a Tesla factory is going to be compatible with a first gen bot, no matter how good it is? And I said, depends on the job. If the job is take this wheelie bin over to station 27, swap it out for the empties and bring back the empties, yes, it can do that. All it has to do is stay out of people's way, and it will be as good as a brand new day one worker. And it can work 24 hours a day, meaning it doesn't have to be as good as a day one worker. It just has to be good enough. And in that regard, this year, Tesla Bot could absolutely become the MVP. Well, the minimum viable product anyway.
Yes.
The thing to remember is when you look at the changes in the design that we saw last week, Dr. Scott Walter pointed out a lot of the refinements that have been made that will reduce cost, reduce weight, and make it more manufacturable. And he is of the opinion that they may have already begun tooling for manufacturing. I think it was Scott who said that they may have already begun tooling for manufacturing. Joe Tegmeyer, who did get a tour of the factory, was looking around at some of the equipment and saying, I'm not convinced all of this is automotive equipment. Now, I don't know if they would be necessarily building a bot right there, but there's all the pieces are there. We know the hardware. The hardware was laughable. 2 years ago, it was a person in a suit. A year ago, it was a big clunky thing that looks like you and I built it in the garage. But what we saw in March was pretty good. And the change from March to December is stunning. You can no longer complain about the hardware. Well, Boston Dynamics has had their Atlas bot for years. Hey, guys, Atlas is not a real product. The objective of the Atlas bot was to continually, perpetually raise more money for Boston Dynamics. It succeeded at that objective. But it doesn't have hands. It's got big, clunky tennis balls from mitts. That's not useful in most applications. And the thing is so complicated, it'll cost 10 times what Optimus does. And that's even in limited runs.
20 times, yeah.
Well, if they could mass produce it, they could get the price down, but not to even 5 or more times what Optimus will cost. We can see it.
No,
the question remaining is the AI going to work? Can you give it a voice command and have it understand and execute the task? And on that part, we haven't seen the demo, but I'd be very surprised if you look at just how good your smart speaker is. It's pretty good at understanding a whole bunch of tasks, and it only has to master 100 to be useful in 1,000 applications.
So Brett Adcock, I forget the name of his company, but he was interviewed by ARK Invest last week, and then Connecting the Dots took a look at that particular video and took that piece by piece to find out what Brett Adcock is doing at his company with 70 engineers that they have working on their bot, their humanoid robot. And he said, we already have our people in our customers' factories with the GoPro operating while people are doing their jobs, so that we can create the videos that can be fed into our bots in order to train them as to what to do in that specific environment. Now, I said, I don't know, 7-8 months ago, I said, I can't believe that Tesla is not already in their factories making decisions with regard to which jobs can and can't be done, whether it's on the new Gen 3 vehicle, or whether it's on existing vehicles, or whether it's just in the warehouse, or a million other applications that they would have all over the place in these factories. I have to believe they're already in those places. They're making decisions about the jobs. They're already shooting the video that will be used to train these bots. And now Brad Adcock, who's, I don't think, 70 engineers, that's a whole bunch. But compared to Tesla, I have to believe Tesla's ahead. And connecting
the gap is, and the gap is widening, because not only does Tesla have more engineers, they have the best engineers. These people are the best from around the world, and they're young, they're passionate, they believe in this, and I got to imagine a substantial portion of their pay is in stock that they are confident will cash in. So it's going to be interesting to see in that regard. The applications are endless, and the training data is going to be the key. And maybe it's already being gathered.
So the thing I always ask myself in a discussion like this, where everybody is saying it'll be 2025 before Tesla begins sales or rentals to third parties, I always ask myself, what is the limiting factor? And I've had 5 different experts on this show who have all said that the hardware is not the limiting factor. The manufacturing is not the limiting factor. To design, develop, and manufacture this particular product is so much less complicated than an automobile. We're not even on the same, planet with regard to how difficult it is and how difficult it is to get to scale. So much easier to get to scale. Now, I was a plastics water bottle manufacturer. We went from 0 to scale in a weekend. Okay. If either the bottle either the mold made the bottle correctly or it didn't. If it made it correctly, we didn't make 100 the first day and 200 the second day and 1,000 the third day. We made 10,000 the first day. So each product has its own ramp, if you will, in terms of getting from zero to scale. A car is a 3,000, 4,000 pound vehicle that can hurt people, that goes 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, that has all kinds of moving parts that can disintegrate because of physics. There's all these things that can cause all kinds of problems. A robot does not have anything like those kinds of issues to deal with, or the regulatory issues that a car does. So getting to scale is really about, do we execute this product consistently, making the same product over and over again, and then we test it and it does what it's supposed to do. And if it does, you probably can go to fairly significant numbers rapidly. Is that your experience?
So I agree with everything you said. A bot is going to be so much less complicated than a car. It doesn't have a lot of the systems in it that a car would need. And in terms of, manufacturability, it's got fewer atoms. Let's start there. The battery pack is small. There is not a single piece on that bot that requires heavy equipment to put in place. The Cybertruck, even the wheels require a mechanical arm because they're so heavy. It's going to be easier. The delay would be, I imagine they would set up the line, build 50, 100, maybe even 1,000, and then stop while they get those all out of pre-production. Those would all be the release candidates for internal training. And the number could be 100, it could be 500, but it wouldn't be 10,000. That would be too many, because if there are a lot of shortcomings that a customer might accept, especially if it's a car customer who they only expect to keep the product 3-5 years on average, where the bot, I think they just want to get it farther along and do it right the first time rather than deal with it. Like the Semi.
Right.
They made a bunch. They're still making a few. We're not yet seeing them come out in full force, and we have a lot of questions as to why.
But again, much more complicated. So the bot, again, I can imagine that they want to test it in different environments. They want to test it in different humidities. They want to test it in different workplaces where there might be different kinds of flooring that's being used, et cetera, et cetera. So there could be a lot of reasons to do that. But that's why I thought they would have 1,000 that they would have hand built, or maybe at least 200 or 300 hand built, so that all that kind of testing could be taking place before they even get to the line stage. So I
would disagree with that.
Okay.
I would disagree with that because having that many candidates that are built using a method that may not work on an assembly line, I think they're starting all the way at the top and saying, we need to build the entire machine at once, get the line at least configured, so at least we know all the steps and processes and procedures, and then we'll test on those. Just my speculation from what I know of how Tesla operates.
All right, so now we go to the other side. We're in rough agreement that it is not going to be the product itself, the hardware, and it's not going to be the production of that final product that it's going to keep them from making literally millions of these a year. The thing that would slow them down would be the software. Now, in this particular case, I've done elaborate videos 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago in terms of what I thought those steps would look like, in terms of the 3 ways that they be trained, whether it's hooking you up with all those little, hooking somebody up that's doing the work, whether it is actual say and tell, telling the robot what to do, verbal commands, or whether it would be the show and tell, which you got that one as well. And the show and tell could be either actual or simulation. So you've got 3 to 3.5, 4 different ways that you can train the bot. Again, my thinking would be that this has been going on for 16, 17 months already. they've trained it how to pick up an egg and put the egg into the other hand and then put it into the cooker. That's a fairly complicated kind of set of situations. So they're really working on the sensors more than they are even the motion or the actual job. So training it to pick up which they've already shown, pick up an electric tool and then use that electric tool in order to put a bolt into something else would seem to me to be a very simple task. And that's the kind of stuff we'd want it to do in a factory. So I'm having a very hard time imagining that the software is not already totally ready to go for doing 100 tasks. I mean, I can't. And Brett Adcock said his stuff is going to be in factories this year. Well, if his stuff is going to be in factories in 2024, I have to believe Teslas are personally, I think, already doing some. Maybe it's only 5, but I think there's some in the factory right now.
So on the software, a lot of people have said, well, until the hardware is dialed in, we can't do the software. I'm going to tell you, I think those are different teams, and software can be run in a simulation very effectively. And if you want to validate it, you just run it on any of the prototypes they've got and dial it in a little bit. Doesn't even take that much time. You could do it when they're not using it. As long as it's, stable and all that, train it. So the software can be run at the same time. And then the other part you'd said was Brett says that he'll have them in factories, actually at his customers' factories, not at his factories. He doesn't have he has a factory to build humanoid robots, but he's going to have them in his customers' factories in 2024. And I'm thinking, if he can have bots. Right. So on that, I would say Tesla doesn't have to be first to win. They didn't make the first electric car. They made the best electric car. They didn't make the first rocket. They made the best rocket. That's SpaceX, but the synergy is strong within Elon companies between them. So yeah, I think there's already Boston Dynamics bots of some kinds. The big ostrich comes to mind that have been put in place in places. And yeah, another question I got was why humanoid at all? Why humanoid at all? And the answer is because it needs to do things that humans do, and humans have a specific range of motion. Well, why aren't we using wheels instead of feet? Feet are clunky. Stairs, because of stairs.
Well, there's a lot
and steps. Yeah, obstacles.
And moving from location to location that might not allow the wheels to even get past. But Brian, let me go back to that other one because it's the one that drives me the craziest. I love the limiting factors program. Why do I love his YouTube videos so much is because he talks about limiting factors. So as a manufacturer, as somebody who was trying to get 5 million bottles out a year, and then can we go to 6? Can we go to 7? As somebody who's pushing, as somebody who's incredibly competitive, I'm not worried about whether I'm first to market. What I'm worried about is how much money am I going to make? And how fast can I get this thing into the hands of my customers and make them thrilled with my product? And I think that's how Elon thinks because he's an entrepreneur. I don't know what would be slowing down the process. I can't think of a limiting factor for not already being out in first tier and second tier suppliers. I can't even think of any reason for not being out in third party disconnected factories that might have a special, sets of applications that would make sense to send somebody out and start looking at the application and then be ready to actually start selling. If they can make 50,000 of these next year, they can make 1 million of them next year. It's really not going to be a problem of ramping.
So I would say what we don't know is what we don't know. They haven't told us. Getting information out of them is a little tricky. So I assume we'll have an AI Day 3 soon where all the answers will be revealed.
Well, okay. Well, I was just feeling lonely, Brian, and I thought maybe you would help me by saying, absolutely, Randy. Of course, they're going to make 1 million of them next year. Well,
I gotta talk you down from the ledge once in a while, right?
I guess I'm still going to have a lonely afternoon. There you go. I don't know, Brian. Okay. Well, Brian White, you always illuminate, always elucidate. There's got to be other words in there that I could use that would be rhyming. No.
Procrastinate.
Let's not. I think we should stop while we're ahead. Hey, Brian, it's been great having you on as always. Oh, you should follow him on My Tesla Weekend. You should join his Patreon for sure. You should absolutely do that. And what else, Brian? Is there anything else they should do?
If you see me in public, high five.
There you go. All right. Perfect. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you. Is somebody going to join Patreon? All right, I'm going to make a deal. This is going to be, I've done this once before. It worked a little bit. Actually got a lot of people joining Patreon the last 2 weeks. But the last 2 days, not a single soul. So let's get you up on Patreon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you one free audiobook. You can have 2 free if you want. Or you can have 1 free audiobook and the Cybertruck bottle opener. How's that? 1 and 1. Okay. If you join at the $10 level, not at the $5 level. If you join at the $5 level, you just get the 1 book. Now, if you're completely new to the channel, this is a bottle opener. It is a refrigerator magnet. It is 3 millimeter thick, stainless steel, really, really tough. Comes in a very cool magnetic box that makes it a great gift item. It's got all kinds of people now buying them as gifts as a result of the fact that I have so many people that want to buy them as gifts, and they're putting in these larger orders. I do have it all down. I think I put it all down below. I'll have to double check and make sure that it's up to date. They're normally $25 a piece. You get 2 for $45. You get 3 for $60. Okay. You get 100 for $210, and you get 200 for $400. Gets you all the way down to $20 a piece. If you are out of the country, I need you to add another $20 to that for freight, whichever one of those ones you pick. And then if you are, and then please let me know camo or regular. And of course you can mix and match if you buy quantities, however you want to set that up. So is there anything else I have left for you tonight? I think I've said it all. I have enjoyed speaking with you yet again.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.